Hello, friends. Al Iverson here. It's time for another of your email authentication and deliverability questions answered. Today, I want to answer this question. What do you do when experiencing unexpected DKIM-related rejections at Microsoft? So let's say you're seeing this error. Access denied, sending domain example.com doesn't meet the required authentication level. The sender's domain in the 5322.from address doesn't meet the authentication requirements defined for the sender. Specifically, SPF is passing, DMARC is passing, but it says that DKIM is failing. You know, or at least you think you've got DKIM configured properly. So what could be happening here? Now, before you get started, make sure you double check that DKIM is actually working correctly. Make sure that messages are passing DKIM authentication checks elsewhere and that the DKIM signature aligns, meaning that the DKIM domain matches the domain in your visible from address using a tool like About My Email, or at least do a send to a Gmail account and view the full message headers and source to look at the authentication results there and make sure that everything is working correctly. After you've confirmed that the problem is not explicitly your DKIM configuration, there are a few things you should try. Keep in mind that these are not necessarily related to a problem with your DKIM configuration. That's why I suggested that you get that out of the way first. Because in these cases, the error message saying DKIM equals fail is actually being caused by something a bit more complex than just a missing or malformed DKIM key. Here's what I recommend. Number one, it could be a DNS timeout. If you have the ability to configure your mail server or MTA to retry messages when they see this failure, test that. In some cases, people have reported that Microsoft might be timing out when trying to find the DNS records to validate your DKIM signature. If so, trying that same message again often results in a successful delivery. If retrying works, it was likely an intermittent DNS issue. If so, what to do longer term here gets a bit tricky and will require further research. Number two, header lines could be too long, not folded properly. Folding refers to properly wrapping long header lines to keep them within specified limits. RFC 5322 says each line of characters must be no more than 998 characters and should be no more than 78 characters, excluding the carriage return and line feed. There was a situation with a transactional email provider platform back in January 2026 where they were seeing DKIM-related bounces at Microsoft unexpectedly. Working with impacted clients, they were able to trace it back to this specific issue. In their case, the headers were only around maybe 500 to 600 characters long, but that was long enough to cause this trouble and those rejections. So if you can, try to test this by significantly shortening or temporarily removing or suppressing specific long headers to see if that has an impact on your issue. Even though your message might actually be fully RFC compliant, stuff happens. Number three, extra headers or missing headers. Bram Vandala blogged about this a few months ago. He explained that in his case, he found that specific failures at Microsoft were due to double headers in a sending email message, specifically, in his case, the content encoding header. This was a case where Gmail just silently corrected this header misfire, and senders might not even have noticed that there was a problem. Like Microsoft could be doing here, Gmail does reject some mail with specific double headers, so this won't be true in every case, but it's something to investigate. It was a good catch on Bram's part. Maybe your message is not as RFC compliant as you think it is. Number four, and finally, look for body content changes, encoding changes, character conversion, or message content normalization. Keep in mind that it could be something complex or it could be something very simple. And by simple, I mean it could just be something like tabs being converted to spaces. That alone would break a DKIM signature. And it's something that I used to see when I would run into Microsoft sender troubles years ago. So I'm not sure if that specific case happens today, but just to give you an example of the kind of thing you're potentially looking for. Because if something is resulting in the message content being modified when it hits the Microsoft ecosystem, a DKIM-related rejection could result. This is because any message changes to any bit of body or headers covered by the DKIM authentication signature will result in that signature not validating correctly. There are a lot of other reasons email messages can be rejected. This is not going to cover every single possibility. And some of these things to try can be a bit technical, maybe not suitable for everyone to try. But I hope this gives you a starting point for some things to check when you're running into this specific authentication related non delivery report when sending email messages to Microsoft inboxes. And with that, I'll leave things there for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't hesitate to drop me a line with your thoughts or feedback. My email address is al.iverson@valamail.com. And don't forget to visit our website at valamail.com when you're ready to embark upon your DMARC journey.